All right, we got another episode of the Creep Tapes, Season 2, Episode 4. This one is titled AVA. And I can't remember all the episodes from the first season, but I'm pretty sure they were all male victims, right? So this would be the second female victim that we've seen Joseph kill, even though we don't fully have a resolution and closure of what happened to Sarah at the end of Creep 2, which I really like how they brought it up at the beginning of this episode, and I thought maybe it would tie in and we'd finally get some type of answer, and they just gloss right over it. But this episode, I don't know, I don't have too much to talk about with this one. This is a perfect example of why I'd rather have a Creep 3 and not these little bite-sized episodes. A lot of the episodes just don't have enough time for the setup and to build enough tension and also have a good payoff. But basically we have Ava, the subject of this one, and she's hired by Joseph to film like a documentary for a nonprofit, and he pretends that he's this vegan and that he really cares about animals until he shows her the animals, and they're all little animal toys. And I really do like how at the beginning of the episode he's playing with the animal toys and talking as if they were his past victims. He has a giraffe called Aaron, like the guy from the first movie. And then you have the line from what appears to be Sarah's animal. And she says, "I don't want to get captured again." And one of the animals says, "Wait, didn't he get you on the subway?" And she says, I don't remember. Do you guys remember what he did to you? And then they gloss right over it. But I'm glad it was at least addressed. I was happy to hear, at least a reference to Sarah, because that's one of the biggest questions, left open with the whole first two movies. What really happened to Sarah? I always assumed she was killed. Joseph doesn't seem like the type of person to let somebody live, and especially after everything that she witnessed and that he did to her in the second movie. But Ava ends up being a very stupid individual, first of all, because she doesn't run for the hills immediately when she realizes that there's no real animals and that they're just these little figurines. And she mentions that she has a psychology major, something like that. She went to school for, and she thinks that this guy is trying to maybe work through some trauma or traumatic event that happened to him in his past. And she basically is grifting on that and trying to capture him basically for her own benefit. Obviously, she dies. I have a big issue with that though. If you don't want spoilers, click off. He pours gasoline all over himself. She hugs him, which gets gas on her. And then he just takes a match out, lights it, after a nice little dialogue, how he usually, reveals to his victims that they're in some shit and they're about to be murdered and they trusted the wrong individual. And he says, "Yeah, you didn't think about the gasoline and your matches." And then he lights the match, throws it on her. It's brutal how she just burns and she's screaming. But the fact that he didn't go up in flames immediately, that took me right out of the ending. That was fucking stupid. And that's a running theme throughout this season. It seems like the odd numbered episodes so far have been very good. I really loved episode 1 with David Dastmalchian, and I really loved the last episode, the whole riff on the Saw films. The second one I thought was incredibly stupid with the cops. All the trauma stuff is interesting, and how much of it is, real and how much of it is Joseph making up, because we know him to be a phenomenal actor and he makes up things and you can't tell what's real and what has some truth to it. But I feel like this episode just didn't have enough time to breathe, not enough tension, stupid character for the most part. And even, it's always a pleasure watching Mark Duplass act, especially in this franchise as Joseph. But even his act and his performance, not Mark Duplass's performance, Joseph's performance, and the character he's playing on this tape in this episode. I didn't care for that character that he was putting on, if that makes sense. Overall, nothing great. But let me know if you've seen episode 4, AVA, of season 2 of the Creep Tapes. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Maybe some of you guys did love this one.